First contact fallout. The observation deck of the Celestial Sentinel offered an unobstructed view of the devastation. Commander Alara Voss stood with her 4 arms clasped behind her back, all 6 of her eyes focused on the floating debris that had once been Outpost Kappa 12. The Coalition's most advanced frontier station had been reduced to twisted metal and frozen corpses in less than a standard cycle. "Play the final transmission again," she ordered, her voice steady despite the unease rippling through her secondary nervous system. The holographic display flickered to life, showing the panicked face of Outpost Commander Jex. His scales had turned a pale blue, the draconid equivalent of bloodless terror. "This is Outpost Kappa 12 issuing Emergency Protocol Omega. We are under attack by an unidentified vessel. Our shields failed against their weapons, technology we've never encountered. They boarded us and—" Static interrupted his report before his face returned, now sporting a bleeding gash across his snout. They're bipedal, warm-blooded with only 2 arms and 2 eyes, yet they move with impossible speed and adaptability. They communicate through sound patterns we cannot. The transmission cut off with the sound of an explosion. Commander Voss flicked her tail in agitation, a rare display of emotion for a veteran of her standing. 73 cycles of service to the Galactic Coalition, and she had never encountered a species that could devastate a Class A outpost so thoroughly. "Commander, we've recovered something," her second-in-command, Lieutenant Carrick, announced as he entered the observation deck. The small 6-legged arachnoid carried a sealed container in his front appendages. "A survivor." Voss's interest piqued. "Bring them to Medical Bay immediately." The survivor was Specialist Zeth, a junior communications officer who had been found in a sealed emergency pod drifting among the debris. His physical injuries were severe but not life-threatening. The psychological trauma, however, was evident in his trembling limbs and darting eyes. "I've never seen anything like them," Zeth whispered when Voss questioned him, his voice barely audible. "They called themselves humans. They came aboard and adapted to our atmosphere, our gravity, our defenses almost instantly. They studied our systems, downloaded our databases, and then—" He shuddered. "They said they came from a planet called Earth. They said they were looking for resources for allies, but when Commander Jex refused to share our jump gate coordinates, they—" Zeth's voice trailed off. "Their technology?" Voss prompted. "Primitive by our standards, yet somehow superior. Their weapons channeled energy we couldn't shield against. And they themselves. They're fragile compared to us, but their minds—" Zeth closed his eyes. "They think differently. They see patterns we don't. They adapt." Lieutenant Carrick's mandibles clicked nervously. "We recovered some of their technology from the debris field. Our engineers are analyzing it now. The analysis would prove more disturbing than enlightening. The recovered technology was indeed primitive by Coalition standards, a mixture of digital and analog systems that should have been easy to counter. Yet it had been modified in ways that defied conventional engineering logic, creating unexpected efficiencies and capabilities. It's like they don't follow the established technological development path, Chief Engineer Morva explained during the briefing, her tentacles gesturing at the holographic schematics. They've taken developmental leaps that bypass entire technological stages. It's as if they don't know what they're not supposed to be able to do. Coalition intelligence soon compiled a preliminary report on these humans. They hailed from a small, unremarkable planet in a system the Coalition had previously dismissed as having no significant technological civilizations. Earth was located in what Coalition star charts labeled as the Void Sector, a relatively empty region of space with few resource-rich planets. "How could we have missed them?" demanded High Counselor Drea during the emergency session. The ancient Luminarid's bioluminescent patterns flashed with agitation, casting shifting shadows across the council chamber. "Their star system sits just beyond our long-range scanners," Voss explained, "and their technological signatures were too primitive to trigger our advanced civilization detection algorithms." "Until they weren't," Carrick added grimly. The Coalition Security Council debated for 3 full cycles on how to respond to this new threat. Some advocated for immediate military action, a preemptive strike to neutralize the human threat before it could spread. Others urged caution, suggesting diplomatic contact to assess their true intentions. We don't even know if the attack was sanctioned by their government, argued Ambassador Thel, his gelatinous form pulsating with emphasis. It could have been a rogue faction, pirates, or a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding that left 412 coalition citizens dead? Countered Admiral Vrax, the veteran Vulcarian, slamming his armored fist on the table. These humans represent an unpredictable variable in our sector. Unpredictability breeds chaos, and chaos threatens the coalition's foundation. As the debate raged on, Voss found herself increasingly drawn to the recovered human artifacts. There was something oddly familiar about their design philosophy, a strange blend of practicality and unnecessary aesthetic touches. The humans built their technology not just to function but to please their senses. One item in particular captured her attention. A small device recovered from a human body found floating among the debris. It contained thousands of audio files, music, the translation matrix suggested. Voss listened to these recordings for hours, trying to understand the species that created such diverse expressions of emotion through organized sound. They're contradictory, she reported to the council. Their music contains both mathematical precision and chaotic improvisation. Their technology shows both logical progression and intuitive leaps. They appear to be both methodical and impulsive, peaceful and violent, fragile and resilient. The debate might have continued indefinitely if not for the arrival of an unexpected transmission, one directed specifically at the coalition frequency bands. "This is Captain Elena Reyes of the Earth. Exploratory Vessel Horizon," came the message. "Delivered in perfect coalition standard language. We wish to establish peaceful communication regarding the unfortunate incident at your outpost. We propose a neutral meeting location to discuss reparations and prevent further misunderstandings." The transmission included coordinates for a system on the edge of coalition space, a gas giant with 16 moons where neither side would have strategic advantage. "It's a trap," Admiral Vrax declared. "They studied our language from the outpost data they stole. They're luring us in." "Perhaps," Voss countered, "but this is also an opportunity to understand an adversary who has already demonstrated the ability to bypass our defenses. Knowledge is our best weapon now." After hours of heated debate, the council reached a decision. They would accept the invitation, but not without precautions. Commander Voss would lead a delegation aboard the Celestial Sentinel, accompanied by a cloaked defense fleet positioned strategically throughout the system. As the Sentinel prepared to jump to the coordinates, Voss found herself returning to the human music stored in her personal data pad. One piece in particular, labeled Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, seemed to capture the essence of what made these humans so dangerous. Their ability to transform chaos into order and back again, to find harmony in conflict, to build beauty from the rawest elements of existence. "We're ready to jump, Commander," Lieutenant Carrick reported. Voss nodded, switching off the music. "Let's meet these humans and discover whether they're to be our greatest allies or our final enemy." The Celestial Sentinel disappeared into the quantum fold, heading toward a confrontation that would reshape the future of galactic civilization. The human factor. The gas giant's swirling storms painted streaks of amber and violet across the viewports of the Celestial Sentinel. Commander Alara Voss stood at the command center, outwardly projecting calm while her secondary nervous system thrummed with alert signals. The human vessel had arrived before them, a ship roughly one-third the size of the Sentinel, with none of the sleek biomechanical elegance of coalition design. "They call it the Horizon," Lieutenant Carrick reported, his compound eyes fixed on the sensor readings. "Primitive fusion propulsion, minimal shielding. Yet it reached this system before us. Which means they either have some form of jump technology we're not detecting or they were already here," Voss concluded. "Maintain alert status but open communications." The main display flickered to life, revealing a human female. Captain Elena Reyes had dark skin, with fur-like strands growing from her head and tied back. Her two eyes were fixed on Voss with an intensity that the commander found unsettling. "Commander Voss," the human greeted her in coalition standard. Thank you for accepting our invitation. We have much to discuss. Beginning with how you acquired our language so quickly, Voss replied, and why your species attacked Outpost Kappa 12. Reyes's expression shifted subtly, a minute facial movement that the Coalition's cultural database couldn't interpret. Those responsible for the attack were a faction we call Reclamation Force, humans who believe our species should aggressively expand into space. They don't represent Earth's unified government. We tracked them here after they stole experimental technology. A convenient explanation, Voss countered, yet one that fails to account for your ability to bypass our defenses so easily. Not easily, Commander, at great cost. The technology they stole was experimental, a neural interface that allows direct integration with computer systems. It works particularly well with alien tech because it doesn't rely on compatible programming languages. Reyes paused. We're here to recover that technology, bring the perpetrators to justice, and make amends for the damage caused. Admiral Vrax's voice came through Voss's private communication implant. They're lying. Scans indicate unusual energy signatures. From their vessel. Voss maintained her focus on the human captain. Your proposal? A direct meeting, face-to-face. A delegation from each side, unarmed, on the third moon. We'll bring the full technical specifications of the stolen technology, so you can protect against it. After deliberation with her officers, Voss agreed to the meeting, but not without precautions. The Coalition delegation would include herself, Lieutenant Carrick, Ambassador Thel, and Chief Engineer Morva. Each would carry hidden emergency translocation beacons. The third moon was a barren, rocky satellite with thin atmosphere and low gravity. The humans had established a temporary dome structure, primitive but functional. Inside, Captain Reyes waited with 3 other humans, each with different coloration and physical characteristics. Commander Voss, thank you for coming, Reyes greeted them. Allow me to introduce Dr. Wei Chen, our chief scientist. Commander. Jackson Williams, security, and Dr. Layla Nasser, our xenobiologist. The formalities were strained, each species studying the other with barely concealed suspicion. The humans seemed especially fascinated by Ambassador Thel's amorphous form and Carrick's arachnoid physiology. You're remarkably diverse for a single species, Dr. Nasser observed. The Coalition, I mean. As are you, for bipeds with such similar basic anatomy, Voss replied. The technical discussion began with Dr. Chen explaining the neural interface technology, a complex system that allowed human brains to directly process and manipulate digital information. It had been designed as a medical tool but had military applications that Reclamation Force had exploited. The technology itself isn't particularly advanced, Chen explained, but the way it interfaces with consciousness creates unexpected capabilities. The human brain is remarkably adaptable. It can learn to interpret almost any input if given the right framework. Chief Engineer Morva's tentacles twisted in what Voss recognized as scientific fascination. You're suggesting your neural plasticity allows you to improvise interfaces with alien technology? Precisely, Chen confirmed. Once we understand the basic principles, we can often find workarounds for incompatible systems. The meeting progressed with cautious information exchange, until an alarm sounded from the human side. Commander Williams checked a device on his wrist, his expression darkening. Captain, we have a situation. 3 vessels just entered the system. Reclamation Force signatures. Reyes turned to Voss. We didn't plan this. They must have tracked us. Before Voss could respond, Lieutenant Carrick received a similar alert. Commander, our sensors detect 3 ships approaching this moon. Not Coalition design. They're charging weapons. This meeting is over, Voss declared, reaching for her translocation beacon. Wait. Reyes stepped forward. If we separate now, we'll both be vulnerable. Those ships will attack your delegation and ours before our vessels can respond. A deafening boom shook the dome as the first attackers began orbital bombardment of the moon's surface. Dust rained from the ceiling as stabilizing systems struggled to compensate. They're not trying to capture us, Williams announced grimly. They're trying to eliminate both delegations. This is a purge operation. With communications jammed and translocation blocked by the attacker's interference field, the two delegations faced a choice: trust each other or die separately. We need to work together, Reyes insisted. Your technology and our adaptability. It's our only chance. Against Admiral Vrax's furious protests in her implant, Voss made her decision. What do you propose, Captain? What followed was a demonstration of why humans were simultaneously the most promising and dangerous species the Coalition had encountered. While Coalition procedures dictated specific protocols for ambush situations, the humans immediately began improvising. Dr. Chen and Chief Engineer Morva worked to combine the neural interface with Coalition emergency beacons, creating a system that could penetrate the jamming field. Commander Williams and Lieutenant Carrick repurposed dome equipment into makeshift defensive weapons. Dr. Nasser and Ambassador Thel analyzed the attack patterns, identifying weaknesses in the enemy approach. They're expecting us to hide and wait for rescue, Reyes explained while helping Voss modify a communication array. Standard tactical response, but we're going to take the fight to them instead. With what weapons? Voss demanded. Reyes grinned, a baring of teeth that Voss now understood was an expression of confidence rather than aggression. With the moon itself. The plan was audacious and violated at least 7 Coalition safety protocols, using the dome's mining equipment combined with Coalition gravitational manipulators. They intended to disrupt the moon's already unstable crust directly beneath the attacker's landing zone. It won't destroy their ships, Williams explained, but it will disable their jamming equipment long enough for us to get a distress signal out. The geological instability could collapse this entire region, Carrick objected. Then we'd better work fast, Reyes replied. As the attacker's ships landed and deployed ground forces, the unlikely alliance raced against time. Voss found herself increasingly relying on human intuition to complement Coalition precision. When standard approaches failed, the humans suggested alternatives that often made little theoretical sense but worked in practice. You don't follow the rules of logical progression, Voss observed as Chen rewired a Coalition device in a way that should have caused it to fail. We follow different rules, Chen replied without looking up from his work. When you've spent millennia as the underdogs on a planet full of predators and disasters, you learn to value results over process. The plan worked, partly. The artificial moonquake disrupted the attacker's equipment enough to send a distress signal, but it also destabilized the dome faster than anticipated. As the structure began to collapse, Reyes pushed Voss toward the emergency exit. Your ship is closer, go. A section of ceiling crashed down, separating the two groups. Through the dust and chaos, Voss made a decision that contradicted every Coalition security protocol. She activated her emergency authority override and beamed the humans aboard the Celestial Sentinel along with her team. Admiral Vrax was apoplectic. You brought uncleared aliens aboard our flagship? I brought allies who saved our delegation, Voss corrected him, and who possess insights into these attackers. The combined Coalition and human forces repelled the Reclamation Force ships, capturing one intact enough to recover its database. The evidence confirmed Captain Reyes's claims. The attackers were indeed a radical human faction, not representatives of Earth's government. 3 cycles later, as the Celestial Sentinel prepared to escort the Horizon back to Coalition space for formal diplomatic negotiations, Voss found Captain Reyes on the observation deck, staring at the gas giant's swirling storms. Your council is still debating whether we're too dangerous to ally with, Reyes said without turning. Yes, Voss acknowledged, moving to stand beside her. And they're right to be cautious. Your species thinks differently than ours. Is different necessarily dangerous? Different is unpredictable. Unpredictability can be dangerous. Voss paused, but it can also be valuable. The Coalition has existed for 12,000 cycles, expanding through careful planning and standardized procedures. We've become static. Reyes turned to face her. And we humans are anything but static. Precisely why some fear you, and precisely why others, myself included, believe you may be exactly what the Coalition needs." Voss extended her upper right hand in the human gesture she had learned. "Your species has a saying, I believe. The devil you know." Reyes took her hand with a smile. "Actually, the full saying is, better the devil you know than the devil you don't. But in this case, I think we're all still getting acquainted." As their ships prepared to jump back to Coalition space, Voss reflected on the report she would deliver to the Council. The humans were indeed dangerous, unpredictable, adaptable, and capable of technological leaps that defied conventional development patterns. But they were also innovative, collaborative, and possessed a creativity that the Coalition had gradually lost over millennia of standardization. The greatest threat to the Coalition wasn't human aggression, it was stagnation. And these strange bipeds from a previously overlooked planet might be the catalyst needed to prevent it. Voss activated the ship's quantum drive, wondering what the galaxy would look like once humanity fully entered the interstellar community. For better or worse, the era of predictability was over.